Title: Fate of Leon, written by Christine T. Pahana. Chapter 5: One Door Closes. Samantha never came home last night. This was expected. She knows I was mad at her. I still am. Never in a long time have I felt betrayed. Here, I thought, we had something good. The timing of her moving here was impeccable. I bet that whole story of her and Mr. Boyd was a lie. I don't know what to believe anymore. I realize now that my life in North Hills was so much easier before that fateful day. Everything changed because of it. I miss the people in North Hills. I miss what I had. I miss what I was, but that's all gone now. Because I made that transition. I had to do it. I had to run away from the reminders of my mistakes and start over, although the haunting nightmare still stays with me. Will it ever end? It brought me to the conclusion that I'm guilty about what happened and I don't know how to stop it. I need to stay strong and accept the fact that I still have struggles to deal with and to resolve. There is one struggle in particular that awaits me, and I'm ready to face my fears. Uniform is ironed and looks professionally pressed, and effortlessly French braid my hair, and it turned out perfect today. Got in my car and looked at my watch. An hour early. Impressive. Instead of rushing like I usually do, I took my time. There it was, the Vineyard Trattoria. It looks so different, yet nothing has changed. I see Samantha's car, early as usual. I casually walk in and my fellow waitress greets me good morning. It makes me wonder if they looked through the contract entirely, or did what I did, and didn't care and just signed it. I almost feel sorry for them. I noticed the velvet curtain was gone, along with the decor and furniture, like last night never happened. Good morning, Maya. Calmest I've ever heard him. Good morning, Mr. Boyd. What? No complaining or praise? This is the first. I would like to see you in my office. Why all of a sudden I feel like a kid going to the principal's office. Please. He pulls up a chair for me to sit on. He sits down behind his desk, and there was a moment of silence. Uncomfortable silence. I heard the door behind me open slowly and closed slowly. I could hear my heart beating, and I felt I was going to hyperventilate, trying to control my breathing. Hello, Miss Leon. I looked over my shoulder, and it was Stephen. In that moment I felt afraid, but refused to show it, so I acknowledged him sternly. Mr. Lennox? This time he was more professional. It was odd to see him in a calm and distinguished manner after last night. He didn't dare touch me or address me that annoying nickname. The quietness in the room was unnerving, and the tension in the air was so thick you can cut it with a knife. I believe there was a mix-up in the extracurricular contract which you have signed. From what Samantha gathers, you've never read it. Is that so? Stephen's voice was calm. Yes, that's correct. I felt like I was being cross-examined. Why did you tell Mr. Boyd that you read it through? Stephen's voice even calmer. I was desperate for a job. At that point I just signed whatever. Stephen leans over to Mr. Boyd and whispers in his ear while Mr. Boyd locks eye contact with me. Stephen stands back and allows Mr. Boyd to speak. It's a shame how things ended the way it did. You've been nothing but a reliable and valuable employee, and for that I deeply appreciate. But after all the confusion last night, we have come to realize there was a breach of contract. Because of that, we regret to inform you that you are terminated effective immediately. That's it? I was expecting something worse, like shooting me in the head and dumping my body in an alley somewhere. And for your discretion, I trust you now know that Mr. Lennox's reputation precedes him, and for your sake, I hope you respect it. There's the thread I was waiting for. Mr. Boyd adds with condescending tone, if you would please scan through and sign here. This is to reassure us you won't disclose any activity you have witnessed in this premises to anyone. If you fail to comply, There are consequences to be dealt with in no regards to mercy. You get the picture? At that point, I was fuming. I came in scared. Now I'm pissed off. My hand curled up to a fist and felt the burning reflex to punch the light out of Danny. As a good little girl, I read through the stupid form and signed it, and at the same time, I also wanted to crumple it up and shove it down Danny's throat. I hate being threatened at, especially by a man. If you need a letter of recommendation, I would be more than happy to write one per request. Here's your last paycheck. If you would please hand over to me your key to the restaurant. Refraining from throwing it at him, I gladly handed the key over. I also expect you to return your uniform by mail or drop it off, whichever you prefer. Ending the meeting, Mr. Lennox closes with, "It was nice knowing you, Miss Lyon. Mr. Boyd will be seeing you out." Mr. Boyd opens the door, and halfway walking me out, I stopped him. "You know, I can find my way out, and here without your help." He knew I was upset. He could tell with the sound of my voice that I meant it. He slowly backed away, walking down the stairs, and through the hallway for the last time I looked up at the mechanical clock that was above the door of the entrance. It was 11 a.m. I didn't realize we were in there that long. I see Samantha, and we make eye contact briefly. She gives me a smile as I was walking out the door, but suddenly heard screaming in the dining room. "Somebody, please help! My boyfriend is not breathing." I wanted to leave, but my conscience was telling me to stay and help. I ran back to the sounds of the screams. In the dining room there was a young girl who looked familiar lying flat on the floor unconscious. When I walked closer, it was a young man. Beside him was a pregnant woman who was frantic. Rambling to myself, "Maya, now is not the time to hallucinate. Get your head together." Snapping back to reality, my screaming of the pregnant woman, I bent to my knees and checked if the man was breathing. He wasn't, and his pulse was weak. I said in a stern voice, "Somebody please call the ambulance." I looked in his mouth. Before giving him a breath, I noticed his tongue and throat were swollen and his airway was obstructed. The girlfriend was almost hysterical and asked me if I was a doctor. I ignored the question and told her that it looks like anaphylactic shock. Totally clueless, she asked, "What does that mean?" "It's an allergic reaction to something he might have touched or ate." I remember him telling me he has allergies to nuts, but he hasn't eaten any. I felt for his pockets of his shirt, his jeans. There was nothing. "Does he have an EpiPen?" Looking at the girlfriend shrugging her shoulder like she doesn't know what the hell I was talking about. "Does anyone in here have an EpiPen?" No response. His pulse was dangerously low, and I had no choice but to perform an emergency tracheotomy. I spotted Samantha. "Get me a glass of wine, or any kind of alcohol, quickly." She responded swiftly. I felt a hand touch my shoulder that caused a shiver down my spine. "What else do you need, Maya?" It was Gabriel. First his voice, now his touch. "Okay, girl, concentrate on the seriousness of the situation at hand. I need a pin and a sharp knife." He pulls out his Swiss Army knife that was holstered on his ankle and gets a pen from the host's desk. "Gabriel, I need you to take the ink out of the pen." Samantha right away came with a glass of red wine, and I poured immediately on the knife to disinfect it, and without hesitation I started to make a half-inch incision below the man's Adam's apple and inserted the empty pen about a half-inch deep, creating an airway. "I think I'm going to be sick." Samantha covered her mouth and quickly disappeared to the bathroom. I blew through the barrel of the empty pen, noticing no obstruction, and gave him 2 breaths. There was no response. I gave another 2 breaths, another, and then finally he starts breathing again. His color started to come back. I noticed the table next to us had a plate of salad, and there was a generous amount of chip almonds sprinkled all over it. "Is that your plate?" I asked the girlfriend. "Yes, it is, but my boyfriend never ate from it." "Did you guys kiss?" She looked surprised by the question. Yes, we did." "You have enough residue of almond on your saliva and on your lips to trigger the allergy. It's very rare, but in your boyfriend's case, he's very sensitive, and with that, it caused a severe allergic reaction. Now that you know that, please take extreme caution. I don't know what would have happened if you weren't here. You're an angel. Thank you so much. If there's anything you need, what you should do for me is to make sure you have an EpiPen ready. I noticed your boyfriend didn't carry one on him. See to it that he does. Still crying and upset. I will. I definitely will. Thank you again. Thank you so much. It took 8 minutes for the ambulance to finally show up, and by that time, without saying goodbye to anyone, I was out the door. I didn't want to give a report or answer any questions. Plus, I have seen Mr. Boyd and Stephen walking my way. I want to avoid a confrontation. I didn't want anything to do with the restaurant or the people in it. That was history. Maya, wait up, slow down. Where are you going? Gabriel was running after me, trying to catch his breath. That was intense. Where did you learn how to do that? I worked in the hospital. As a nurse? I really don't want to talk, okay? Looking confused. Okay, it's just that was by far the most exhilarating thing I've ever experienced. You were awesome in there. You saved a man's life. Yes, I did, and life goes on. What is wrong, Maya? You just saved someone's life and you're acting like someone had died. Trying to change the subject. What are you doing here, by the way? Don't you have an audition to go to? I heard my brother talking on the phone to Danny early this morning. I just had to see that you're okay. That gave me a prickly, numbing feeling, a feeling of butterflies in my stomach. Why did he want to see me? Thank you, but I'm a big girl now. I don't need anyone to look over me. Now, if you will excuse me, this is my car. I'll be leaving now. As I was about to grab the door handle, without any word, Gabriel opens my door and waits till I'm seated, and then he closes the door. As I was driving away in the parking lot, I see Gabriel from my rearview mirror, watching me as I drive away. I wish he didn't act like a gentleman because I feel bad for acting like a royal bitch towards him. Arriving home, I was tempted to drive back to apologize to Gabriel, but I promised myself from the day I left North Hills, never again was I to let my guard down to anyone, no matter how genuine they present themselves to be. I broke that promise when I allowed Samantha to crawl her way into my life, and look how that played out.